And so I'm sure you saw there, Sammy, that there was some speculation. I don't think anybody knows for sure, but the speculation, at least it was today, was that Matt Eberflus has a 5-year contract, which would be some, excuse me, which would be incredible. But I don't think that that's going to be the case. I think it's up to him right now. As a matter of fact, Sammy, let's start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Rank.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois, the sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
It's Wednesday night. You know what that means? It is time for Take It to the Rank. Wednesday night is the place to be. AEW Dynamite's coming up. The Tape Never Lies Network coming on a little bit later. I think the challenge is still going, but right now it is time to talk Bears football. And excuse me for a moment because I had a little bit of a coughing fit. It is so windy here in Southern California right now. Sinuses running rampant, so I apologize to everybody. The quick throw to Sammy. Start the show. I'm dying here with a cough as I'm sitting here drinking hot tea and all that stuff at the moment. Here's my thing, though. Going back to Matt Eberflus, we saw some speculation earlier today that there is a possibility that Matt Eberflus has a 5-year contract. And there are other people within NFL circles I had conversations with this week talking about this very thing, talking about Matt Eberflus. Now, I understand a lot of Bears fans were sort of upset, not upset, just disappointed. We saw Dennis Allen get fired this week. A lot of people thought that perhaps, we could have seen some movement there as well, that the Bears also could have fired their coach in the middle of the season, which is not something that the Bears have historically done. Although at times it is a little bit wrong to talk about the Bears in a historical context like that, because the one thing that you got to remember is the Bears had never hired a retread coach for the longest time until they finally went out there and hired John Fox. That was who they broke their retread cherry with, was John Fox. Like, that was the guy. That was who we wanted to do that with. Hold on, everybody. I got to make sure I tweet this out. So, never say never that the Bears will never do this, that they'll never fire a coach mid-season or anything like that, because you just don't know. And I'll tell you, if I didn't mention this after the game, I was sitting there about 4 seats away from Ryan Poles during the game. And I know that there had to be times where perhaps my voice, I would sit there and you would hear me at times just being like, oh, like that. Like you can't help. Like there's no cheering in the press box or anything like that. But it's like, like what's going on? And a lot of it had to do with not so much Caleb, but some of the coaching things. So when you think about it, Matt Eberflus, highly unrealistic that he was going to be fired with the 4-4 record, even though 2 losses were excruciating. 1 game they should have won. I mean, you can't argue that. I know the Commanders fans love to run around like, oh, we did. I mean, like, you did nothing. Tyreek Stevenson did that. That wasn't the coaching staff did that. You did nothing. You were just there at the stadium. You did not know, but there was no magic. It's not like watching. It's so funny watching these fans. There was no like magic where you're like, I can't believe that the dude threw a ball 10 yards short of the end zone that was batted into the air that landed into somebody's hands. He didn't do anything. The point of it is like Eberflus not going to be fired out. It would have been convenient. You got a big week. Let Coach Hightower take over for a week before Green Bay, because now you look at it and let's say the Bears go out there and they play horribly against the New England Patriots this week, to the point of like, we should fire this guy. Do you do it the week before the Packers game? Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the best idea. I don't know if that's going to be the best course of action. So for me, in the moment and the instant gratification and you know what? I just want something. I just want to feel good about something. And I get the impulse for wanting to go out there and fire the coach. I really do. Like even coming back on that plane on Sunday night, you're like, God, can we just fire this guy? Can we do it? Like everybody, you sit there. That was, one of the great things about being out there in Arizona was the fact that there were so many Bears fans. And if you're at the Glendale, what is it, City Walk or whatever it is, there was just a ton of Bears fans. Everybody, it was great before the game, not as much fun after the game. But there's a lot of people speculating, wanting to fire the head coach, which is a thing that happens when our team loses. And I know Greg Braggs, who unfortunately can't be here tonight because he's flying back. He's heading to the airport right now, Sky Harbor Airport. I hope he's going to Terminal D of the Southwest because that was, oh my God. By the way, I don't know, because it'll be too political. But the airports in our country are getting so nice right now. I'm gonna be bummed that that's stopping. But in any event, you want to fire the coach because you want the dopamine of something that happens immediately. You want to be able to be like, look, we're doing something. We're making some sort of change. Is it the best thing to do? Because I know a lot of Bears fans are sitting there thinking to themselves, Ben Johnson is going to be our next head coach, which might or might not. Hey, who knows? There was speculation that he wanted the job if it came available last year. Whether that's true or not, who knows? So you want that, but so what would be the point of firing Matt Eberflus right now? I understand losing in the locker room. You probably still want to win. Like you shouldn't concede the season. You don't want to concede a season because there are guys who, don't have many years left. Keenan Allen doesn't have a ton of years left. This might be his only shot in Chicago. Yeah, he probably wants to win some games and go to the playoffs and have some fun, make some playoff money. That's a very real. That makes a lot of sense. That's something you would want to do. But at the same time, if you go out there, and I don't want to end up being one of these teams that goes out, fires their coach mid-season, the interim guy comes in and kills it. And I'm thinking about what the Raiders did last year with Antonio Pierce. And then the Raiders, because they were burned by the Rich Bisaccia thing, where they got rid of him and brought in John Gruden, were like, we're not making that mistake again. And they went with Antonio Pierce. And now you look at that situation. Luke Getsy and 2 offensive assistants already fired. Do you want that to happen? Do you want the Bears to elevate an interim coach, not hire Ben Johnson or Bill Belichick or whomever, and be like, oh, we're hiring our interim guy because we finished 8-9 or 9-8. So you really got to think closely about that, whether he's going to be fired during this. Like, what's the means to an end on if he's going to get fired or not? Now, if our quarterback is out there again in a blowout, playing with 20 seconds left because he needs to get some work in, that didn't jive with me. I remember sitting in I was in that press room, by the way, when a lot of the fans like, where were you? I'm like, I was actually in that room listening to Matt Eberflus talk. Didn't like that answer at all. I didn't like a number of the answers. I did like that he came out and kind of addressed the fact that, hey, this one's on me, which is like, you know what to say now. Somebody's giving you the script. It's just like, your boss has yelled at you and you went and you watched a video from some motivational speaker on Instagram. Like, this is what you should say when your boss is mad at you. These are the kind of things you should say when you're in a job interview. Actually, my biggest strength is that my biggest weakness is that I care too much, like that kind of stuff. That actually almost comes off more disingenuous because you're like, you're just saying it because everybody's telling you to say it now. You don't believe it. My biggest weakness is I never go home from my job. Stop it, you. So I don't know if Eberflus is going to be fired or anything like that. I never say never. I don't know that it might or might not. I just don't count on it. And then they got this. Then they got this thing with the Patriots. So who knows? I will say, and then to the second part of that, is that there's a possibility that Matt Eberflus actually has a 5-year contract and that he might be more locked in, because I talked, and I might have alluded to this a moment ago. I talked to some people within NFL circles, people who are close to Ryan Poles, and they indicated to me that regardless of what happens at all, Matt Eberflus is coming back regardless. That they're not going to be in a situation where they put him in the same spot that they put Justin Fields and Mitch Trubisky and Rex Grossman and everybody else. They're not going to do that. So I'm like, yeah, why not make this misery last longer? If it becomes, if the writing is on the wall, to my point of like, Ryan Poles is starting to play a real dangerous game of how attached do you want to be to this coach? How much do you want to be, how much do you want your job to be on the line? Now, obviously, Ryan Poles is never going to be lacking for work within the NFL. If something happens, like, and maybe that's his thinking too. Maybe he's just like, hey, look, you know what? I'm gonna sit here, ride this out. If it doesn't work out, I'm gonna go back to Kansas City and accept the gig, whatever it is. But I do believe he's starting to play a little bit of a dangerous game where, all right, buddy, like if you're not going to get rid of Matt Eberflus, maybe you're going to be gone too, regardless of what you've been able to do over the last couple of years. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there, and I really don't know. I don't know what the right answer is right now, because part of me still wants to say, let's play it out. Let's see what it is. And then another part of me just wants that instant gratification of being like, nope, got rid of him. Nope, we're moving on. I don't know. See, and I know a lot of people always point to this fact too, like, hey, we're doing this thing where we're reset. We're not letting the coach and the quarterback be on the same page. I will tell you that doesn't always work either. Because a number of years ago, the Jets had Sam Darnold, and they hired a new coach, Robert Saleh. And they're like, well, we can draft Zach Wilson, so why don't we get rid of Sam Darnold? And they put Robert Saleh and Zach Wilson on the same schedule. Their first season's mirrored. So how many Super Bowls have the Jets won now? Is either one of those guys still at the Jets? They're not. So don't act like it's some like great, like, hey, this is the tried and true formula. This always works. Don't worry about it. You know, could you have imagined 2 years ago if the Packers were like, let's fire LaFleur because then the new coach can start on the same timetable as Jordan Love. I'm just not saying there's no exact science to it, is the thing. I don't know. Would you want to gamble on that? Would you want to bet on it? I don't know. Speaking of which, the world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is right at your fingertips in Illinois. The Circa Sports app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Illinois and experience high betting limits, better moneyline splits, more in-game betting, and the best customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Illinois. And if you or someone you know might have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER or text ILGAMB to 833-234. That is the Circa Sports app. Make sure you download that today. So let's go back to that game on Sunday with the Arizona Cardinals there. I wish Braggs was here. I haven't gotten a chance to. I spoke with him briefly after the game on Sunday night, then I had to get on an airplane. We didn't do CHGO After Dark as we typically do on Monday. So usually I have a Sunday night reaction, then I go on CHGO, and then by Wednesday, I sort of have my thoughts more linear, more aligned, and everything like that. But I still do have a pretty good sense of what I want to talk about right now with Caleb Williams. And it's great that I got an opportunity to see him firsthand, got to see him up close in person, to be around and just kind of in a great view from my seat there, right in the vicinity of Ryan Poles. So, and I'm sitting there trying to study Ryan Poles' reactions to all this. Like, how is he? And you know what? Like, whenever you see the photos of him or you watch anything on Hard Knocks or anything like that, like, dude is a poker player. His demeanor does not change one way or the other. The only time that there was like a visit, I don't know, should I be saying this? Sammy, let me know in the notes. Should I be saying this stuff? They're in the press box. I'm a member of the press. I can say that. I don't know why. They're always in the press box. By the way, I'll get to that in a moment. In any event, the only time there was a real like audible something from the Bears contingent there, it was the leverage play. That was the time. Is there like some written rule like I shouldn't be talking about that? Who knows? We'll say. Oh, it reminds me too. I want to go to the Rams game on Monday night. Put that down for me. But it's one of those things like, oh, like that was where everybody's kind of like, what? Like, what is this? There were so many different things in this game. But I do want to have an honest conversation about Caleb Williams right now. I've taken a lot of time, watched the game back on my own. I watched Tim Jenkins breakdown. I just got done watching Chase Daniels tape breakdown. I didn't get a chance to see what Kurt Warner said. I know he joined 670 The Score, but I didn't get a chance. I'm sure it's a lot of the same stuff. I feel Tim was a little bit more optimistic than Chase is. But they're both, it's the same message. And it's the same thoughts that I had watching Caleb Williams. Now, number one, I'm going to put this out there on Front Street. I think that Caleb Williams is the dude. I think he is the guy. You, again, if you want to be disingenuous and you want to support your guy or whatever, I don't care. Caleb Williams is that dude. He's out there busting his, are we past the 11-minute mark? Okay. Busting his ass, extending plays. He's not turning the ball over, too. Like, that's the thing. Like, people will keep pointing out these things like, hey, he's doing this, and his deep ball accuracy is like a work in progress. Like, yeah, okay, that's fair. He's not turning the ball over. He's not killing them with a lot of bad decisions. Although that's not necessarily true. The one critique. So number one, I love Caleb Williams. I think he's the guy. Not even, and again, I want to reiterate this too. The people just will not accept this, whatever. They should have defeated the Commanders. Okay, you got to remember, Caleb Williams goes out there, drives the Bears down to the goal line, which why the F we can't punch these, whatever. They give the ball to Doug Kramer, try to make that play. Ridiculous. Fumble. They lose the ball. And then the golden boy comes out. Jaden Daniels comes out with an opportunity to win the game, put the game away. 4-minute offense, Jaden Daniels, 3 and out. That guy went 3 and out. Nobody remembers this because he threw a desperation heave 15 yards short of the goal line that got bounced, that tipped off somebody's hands who wasn't paying attention. Whatever. To the victors go the spoils, right? Okay, fair enough. That play still happened. However, had the Bears handled their business in the last 28 seconds of that game, the conversation after that Washington game would have been Caleb Williams wins the game, drives his team for a winning score twice. Jaden Daniels with a chance to ice it, couldn't do it. Caleb Williams, front runner, rookie of the year. There we go. Who knows what happens when they go to Arizona, coming off a huge win? Who knows? Doesn't matter because that timeline doesn't exist, which is fair. But I just think it's important to remember that before we get too dismissive of Caleb Williams. There are certain critiques that you can make for Caleb Williams, and it's fair and it's obvious. I think number one, he doesn't take the check down enough. And this is something that Thanks, Sammy. Thanks. 12 minutes later. Thanks, Sammy. Okay. Thank you for not saving me for my own bad things. This is but he doesn't check the ball down enough. And this was a conversation coming into the draft where people were saying he plays hero ball too much and he really needs to tone it down. And this, when you want to talk about problems with a quarterback, if we're really at a point where you're like, Caleb's trying to do too much, I'm not as concerned with that as I would be with other potential problems that could be there for Caleb Williams. I'll put it to you this way. What Caleb is doing now, if you play golf or know somebody who plays golf, or if you've ever played golf, there's two par fours on my local course here at Metal Arc Golf Course in Huntington Beach, California. Hole number 2 and hole number 8 are both reachable par fours that are surrounded by water. So you can go for it, but it's a lot risky. You're probably better off taking out your whatever club it is, your 8 iron, your 7 iron, your 6 iron. I don't hit as long anymore. 6 iron for me. Okay. Taking out your 6 iron and then leaving yourself about, 100 yards or less in. I like to be about 85 yards. If it's up to me, I would like to be 85 yards away. I'll take out my 50 degree. And if I really hit the 50 degree perfect, it would go 100 yards. I'm not Roy McIlroy, so it's never going 100 yards. And if I thin it, you're screwed anyways. But still, but I'll probably do something to where it goes 80 to 85 yards, which is where I want it to go. This is the mindset that Caleb needs to develop a little bit better. There were multiple plays, like going back and watching it. There were times where you're like, I think I was thinking of the second throw of the game where he tries to hit a deep shot to Keenan Allen, where instead he could have just checked it. There's multiple times where you're like, Caleb, if you just take the easy throw, which to me seems like a relatively easy thing to fix. You know what I'm saying? Like we should be able to fix this. We should be able to go out there and fix this with Caleb Williams through coaching, through a little bit of guidance. And I understand, listen, I know it's tough as a coach. And I say this as the now 3-time my Red Lightning, my U10 girls right there. Oh, that was a championship 3 years ago. That was last year's championship. And I don't have it. We just won the title once again. And I know that sometimes it's tough to coach players and be like, hey, this is what you need to do. You can work on it. You can work on it. You can work on it. They get in the games. The instinct takes over. This is something that Caleb's going to have to learn to do over the course of his career, is sometimes realize that discretion is the better part of valor and just take the easy throw. Just take the check down. Let's move the sticks where we can. Let's take little gains. Let's put ourselves into 3rd and short. Let's do this. It's there for you. I honestly don't have as much issue with a lot of what Shane Waldron is doing. Listen, not every play is perfect. That's understandable. This is the problem with everybody doing these breakdowns now, is that, yeah, we can sit here and dissect everybody. Like I saw Patrick Mahomes make some throws. You're like, what is he doing? I've seen some, and a lot of good teams do this too, where they try to outsmart themselves or do anything, and it just looks weird. So I think that Caleb does have some stuff to work on. But at the same time, he's a rookie quarterback who's played 8 NFL games. And for a lot of you to expect a finished product, little unrealistic. Not saying it's not possible. And I know it's exasperated because CJ Stroud was doing well last year. Jaden Daniels has his team in first place at Jace in the NFC East. So you want to make those comparisons. I don't care about that. Good. I'm happy. I'm happy for you guys. I don't sit there. I'm not the person that when I go to Portillo's, I get my Italian beef twice dipped. I don't sit there and look at everybody else's order in the restaurant. Be like, oh, I should have gotten the cake shake, or should have gotten the dog, or what? I don't care. I'm happy with what I have. I want to make sure that I'm enjoying everything that I got. And I think that in anybody who wants to make a judgment based on 8 games, 9 games, be my guest. I understand. That's the world that we live in now. Oh, it permeates to other parts of our society as well. It's not just quarterbacks, but I'm still down with Caleb. I'm still buying all of his rookie sports cards. And speaking of which, at Windy City Sports Cards, they specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. Whether you are a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, or Sky, they have got you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles. In addition to their Chicago-focused items, they also offer a vast collection of sports cards and memorabilia from your favorite teams and players. So you want an Angel Reese card? You can go out and get it. That's what they do at Windy City Sports Cards. All right, before we get to some questions, I do want to answer a couple of different things. I got a couple of different notes. Hold on. Want to make sure. All right, we're good here. Oh God, this is terrible. Andrew Billings is having surgery for a torn pec, which probably means he's out for the season. Awful news. Andrew Billings was playing so well, and injuries are a part of football, and we got to overcome it and move on, and the trade deadline's gone. But at the same time, such a bummer for a guy who is playing so well this season. But the good news is that Montez Sweat and Kyler Gordon appear like they're coming back, which would be huge. And I think over the last 2 weeks, Montez Sweat, I don't know if Montez Sweat makes a deal on Sunday, but the previous week, if Kyler Gordon would have been playing in that game against the Commanders, I think that's a different contest. I really do. I think Kyler Gordon, vastly underrated. And one of the things he does is blitzing from his corner spot. Oh, it's one of the most underrated parts of that defense. Jaquan Brisker, our guy, looks like he's probably going to be out again. I really hope he's okay. I did see him on Twitter bouncing around, paying attention to everything that's going on with the Bears. The most important thing is that he gets healthy and ready to go. But we want Jaquan Brisker back there. But still, we will welcome back Montez Sweat and Kyler Gordon. All right, Sammy, you said you had some questions. I might have some answers. Let's do it. Robert Nash agreed he doesn't check the ball down, but is it him not trusting the offense or his receivers or his line protection? I really want to believe that he wants to do so well that he wants to make the big play. And again, I think it is something, it's part of his personality that makes him so great, is that he wants to make big plays. And again, and it goes going back to that golf analogy. There are people who play golf who constantly want to go out there and make big plays, make big shots. I want to go for the green. I didn't pay this money to sit here and lay up. There's no laying up. It's like it's kind of a macho thing too. Like I'm not laying up, going for it. It's a winning mentality that you have to adopt. And I think a lot of young players can get caught up doing this, of trying to make the huge play and it ended up costing them. And I think it's just, I don't think he doesn't trust his line. I don't think anything like that. I think he needs to trust himself a little bit more. And it's the same thing. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Colors way back in the 80s. Sean Penn, Robert Duvall. And there's one of the key scenes in the movie is Robert Duvall is explaining to his young partner, Pac-Man. He's telling this joke about these two bulls sitting on an older bull and a younger bull. They're sitting at the top of the hill, and the younger bull says, "Hey, why don't we go down there? Why don't we run down there and make love to one of those cows?" And the older bull says, no, let's walk down and make love to all of them. Sorry, Sammy. If that's a little too racy, I apologize. It's the same sort of sentiment that sometimes these younger players got to be like, hey, yeah, I know. Listen, Is the 5-yard check down getting you on Sports Center? No. Okay. But it's still worth it to drive down the field. And again, we're going to have opportunities over the next number of weeks to see if this is a lesson that they can impart upon Caleb Williams. I don't think it's a lack of trust. And I don't think it is. I just want him to trust what he's seeing. Be like, that's open, go for it. You don't have to get it all back. It's like people too, like, a lot of people will be going back to the gym here in the near future. You don't got to get it back all in one day. Excuse me. Ooh. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And I ran out of cough drops. What is wrong with me? All right. How about another question, Sammy? Who would you hire if Flus goes? Thank you, Scottish Bear, for always hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. I think that, you know what? I know. I see the jokes about people, and everybody says things like, if we do move on, Ben Johnson would be the right answer. Ben Johnson would be the guy. Like, we need, when you look at the coaches of the NFC North and you're like, there's Dan Campbell, Meathead, Meatball Deluxe, just ready to go. So you got him. You got the eyebrows of Matt LaFleur. You got KOC. Oh, I love KOC. Oh, I love KOC so much. He was a guy. I remember when he played quarterback at San Diego State. Was a big fan of his. He went to the Patriots, and then he started bumping around the system. You're like, God, this is a guy who played for the Patriots, studied under Sean McVay. Like, what are we doing? Like, how is he? Whatever. We hired who we hired. But I think that Ben Johnson's got to be the way to go. I know we'll probably end up with Leslie Frazier, who is a dear friend of mine. I'm a friend. Listen, Leslie Frazier and I are good. I think they need to do the, I know. And people are always like, but Tressman and Matt Nagy and whatever. That's fine. I think Ben Johnson's of a different ilk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Ben Johnson would be different. Actually, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I wonder if Matt Nagy was our coach right now, just taking over. Matt Nagy's going to get another job soon. He really is. And there's going to be people who dismiss, he's still got the Bears. He got the Bears to the playoffs. Were it not from the double doink, they'd possibly go to the NFC Championship game, maybe the Super Bowl. Oh, a lot of people will be spinning that one. Who would you rather have right now, Nagy or Eberflus? What if Eberflus was a defensive coordinator for a Matt? Forget it. It's got to be Ben Johnson. Ben, at this point, like, you might as well keep Eberflus if you're not going to go get Ben Johnson, who, again, allegedly wanted the job. Allegedly. I don't know. That's a tough call. All right. How about another question there, Sammy? I understand the history with Chicago Bears ownership. Do we need to sell the team to break the cycle because we're giving a third quarterback, 2 coaches in his first 2 years? My counterpoint to this is that the Kansas City Chiefs, under the Hunt family, who has always owned that team, they had a long history of not getting the quarterback correct, of not getting the coach correct. Well, Marty Schottenheimer, you could suggest, is a pretty decent coach. But they had a long history of things not going well for them either. So to think, like, I don't really understand the criticism of the McCaskey family. The McCaskey family, what they've done over the last number of years, they brought in an assistant GM, which they never had before. They're trying to build a new stadium. They got rid of Ted Phillips. They bring in Kevin Warren, a football guy with a great football pedigree. What have the McCaskeys done that you think is holding the team back? The McCaskies went out there and allowed Caleb Williams to be drafted, didn't force them to hold on to Justin Fields. I don't get it. I think that we're just getting into scapegoating at this point. I don't get it. They spend money. We bought free agents. Hallis Hall is a beautiful facility. I don't know. Listen, I root for teams that have bad owners. Looking at you, Angels. I don't think it's a McCaskey thing. I really don't. The Bears have the second most NFL championships. McCaskey family, the Hallis family, obviously. I don't know. It's not. The Raiders got rid of their owner. How's that working out for them? So for me, it's scapegoating to just consider it's the McCaskies. I don't know. I don't like scapegoating them. I don't think it's their issue. I feel like they have been as hands off as just about any organization. I honestly believe that Ryan Poles really thought that Matt Eberflus was the guy. Now they both share an agent. There's probably some of that stuff going on. That's very helpful, and they're familiar with each other. But I don't want to be this person. Stop blaming the McCaskies. I feel like they want to win. They're doing everything possible. I don't like blaming the McCaskies. Whether they sell or not, I don't think it makes a difference. I really don't. And I hope they don't. They should hold on to it. All right. What about another question there, Sam? How was Poles acting during the game? Diamond Scott. Listen, he is just a cool cucumber. He is just cool. There's no highs. There's no lows. It's like watching Mike Scioscia back in the day in the Angels dugout. Just, he's just sitting there watching the play, watching the monitor, taking it all in. I think that he's observing the same things that we're observing. That is the most, I could feel some of the disappointment because, again, we talked about this going into the game. This was an opportunity for the Bears to flush everything that had happened the previous week, to let it go. And had the Bears gone out there and defeated the Arizona Cardinals, then, hey, there's no conversations about firing anybody. There's no film breakdowns about, hey, this could have been better. I think it was Chase Daniel who even said this too. The Bears are not far away from being a 6-2 team. However, that becomes a sticking point with Matt Eberflus, is that, we started selling it last year with, hey, there were 3 games where we had a 90% chance of winning, didn't win. But if those games had flipped, we would have been 10-7. We would have been in the playoffs. I don't want to get into another season. I don't want to be here at the end of the year being like, well, had we held on against the Commanders, if we had not missed the field goal against this team, if we had beaten the Colts, if we had done this, we can't have that kind of language in the organization this season. Last year, it was fine. And again, if it was our rookie quarterback making mistakes and going out there and you're like, Caleb made a boneheaded play or whatever, okay, fine. Those are some of the things that you wear. But I think a lot of the issues that we're seeing right now, it's not indicative of the owner. It's not a rookie quarterback making, ridiculous, just thoughtless plays. I think it's a coaching staff and a culture amongst this team that is just not finishing games. And eventually somebody needs to be held accountable. We can't let it go forever. All right, Sam, do we have another one? Ben Johnson wants the head coach and call plays. Do you have a problem with that, knowing that he knows the NFC North inside and out, including the Lions? Thank you, Berlissimo, for being here. Here's my thing with that is we see a lot of these young these hot coordinators come in start calling their own plays. And a lot of them are successful. I think Kyle Shanahan did it. Sean McVay does it. Kevin O'Connell. Zach Taylor. I would give Zach Taylor some credit here. He's done it. Whatever he wants to do. I'll be like, okay, I think he's earned that trust. That's the one thing you get when you're watching the Detroit Lions is like, yeah, you know what? There's a lot of trust. He's built up a lot of goodwill. Realize that like Sean McVay had Jared Goff ruined for him so much so that he traded him away for Matthew Stafford in an effort to go out there and win a Super Bowl. And you know what? It worked out. So credit Sean McVay for that. The Lions picked up Jared Goff in what some people, and I would be included in this, thought that perhaps Jared Goff was going to be a bridge quarterback before the Lions went out there and got their long-term answer. I don't know if it's Hendon Hooker or whomever, but at the same time, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, like Jared Goff's a perfect bridge quarterback. He's got some chops. He has taken a team to a Super Bowl, so he's got that going for him. But ultimately, he's not a franchise guy. He's not going to be a team to lead you to a Super Bowl. Sean McVay caught lightning in a bottle one year. It's never happening again. That has been proven to not. Well, I mean, like he still hasn't gotten the Lions to the Super Bowl, but still, I think that the initial read of anybody who thought that Jared Goff was going to be a bridge quarterback, that has been proven to be for naught. He is a franchise quarterback. He is going to be the quarterback of that team for quite some time. And one of the reasons why is because of what Ben Johnson has been able to establish with him. That is his calling card. That has been impressive. And honestly, like when you look at the way that the Lions have run things, the moves that they've made in free agency, the guys that they have drafted, and, hitting on Amon-Ra St. Brown definitely helped. But it's not like Jameson Williams has been out there and been a tremendous help to them. They haven't even needed to use Sam Laporta this season. They will at some point, but they haven't even needed to use him at some point. Last year with Jahmyr Gibbs, they did a thing where they hit him for half a year before they went out there and did a thing. But then, you know what? It's been all Ben Johnson. So, yeah, if he comes in here and decides, I want to do this, I want to be the coach, and I want to call the plays, like, fine. I would implore him to bring in a defensive coordinator with some chops that you don't have to babysit or anything like that. I know a lot of people have mentioned, I think I've seen the memes with Robert Saleh. Somebody like that would definitely make sense. So I'm into it. Okay. How about another question, Sammy, before we get out of here? I got to go teach tonight too. Scottish Bear. Adam, how badly will the Bears miss Andrew Billings, especially against the run? I miss Brad. I'm sorry, am I not enough for you, Scottish Bear? Oh, you miss Brad? I miss him too. I miss him when I've been coughing. This is the thing. My voice starts to go. And I didn't bring up water with me. I'm such an idiot. Rushing up here. Here's my thing. They will definitely miss Andrew Billings. Like, he has been one of the unsung heroes of that Bears defense. Obviously, Montez Sweat is such a huge guy, huge factor in the Bears offense. Austin Booker's been playing really well. The linebacker's great. The secondary's been playing really well. I think the Bears have done a pretty nice job of masking, overcoming some of their injuries, especially in the defensive secondary, still being pretty good. And I think the Bears will still continue to be very, very good. But without Andrew Billings, that is going to be a huge issue. And I'll be interested to see who steps up, who's ready to make that step and make that leap and be the next guy. That's the one thing, at least, that Matt Eberflus can hold his hat on, is that his defense, despite the fact that they gave up that huge – God, that play at the end of the first half, so ridiculous. I know we didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about DJ Moore. We will have Tyler Scott on later this week. We'll ask him without calling anybody out. We'll ask him. Be like, Tyler, give us a little bit of a rundown here. But we'll talk about that kind of stuff. But I think we're going to miss Andrew Billings. But still, I'm looking forward to this week being at home against the New England Patriots. It's the first time in over a month the Bears will be playing in Soldier Field. And if it doesn't go well this week, well, all bets are off. But in any event, thank you to everybody who joined us here this evening. Thank you for all your comments and your questions. We really do appreciate it. We'll be back next week with Greg Braggs, but later on, we will have the Tyler Scott Show later on this week, the Sick Picks, and of course, a Sunday React. So until that time, bear down. And Sammy, go ahead and play us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcast. Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois.